Hello, welcome to class 2, Leadership and Personal Development. This is a recording of class 2 for asynchronous viewing. Okay, welcome. You have been informed of many things that have to do with this class and everything, so I won't be repeating, and I jump directly into the following of the first class, class 1, and this is for the second class of the week. Okay, how does social context influence our brain and behavior? That's one thing that we're going to talk. We're going to keep on continuation of the context and the situation that we talked last time. Contextual cues are also, and they also help us make sense of many situations, other situations for that matter. They're very important for us in leadership to be able to see the cues that reality sends us in order to understand and dominate reality. In a way, what is appropriate in one place, for example, might not be appropriate in other places. What is okay in one environment could not be appropriate in other environment. Things like jokes, making jokes is okay when studying with your friends, let's put it this way, but not okay during the actual exam. Okay, this is something that doesn't work well. Also, context affects how you feel when you see something happening to another person. This is very important because this has been the subject and the matter of many things that we read in the news. Picture someone being beaten on the street, for example. I mean, this is contextual completely. And this is something that sometimes we don't know how to react or act. The reason why you probably answer no, I haven't seen that, is that your empathy may be influenced by context. Context would determine whether you jump in to help or run away in fear. Okay, because of the situation, how you contextualize it. It has to do with the internal memory of the context of previous experiences, or has to be with the external context of the situation being developed, very dangerous to you. In some, social situations are shaped by contextual factors that affect how you feel and how you act. And these contextual factors are the basis of whatever it is that we act upon. These contextual factors interact with the influence dimension of disability, exacerbate or elevate episodes of ability and disability that you had before. Extrinsic contextual factors, which mean out of you, extrinsic, or intrinsic within you, contextual factors that you remember that you had a perception, a problematic situation. This extrinsic some social support or stigma, that stigma is something that you don't do because your culture doesn't permit that, or living strategies that you have, personal attributes like aging properly, that you don't feel that you're, strong enough to take care of one thing. So how does this context influence our brain and our behavior? Okay, well, contextual cues, okay, those signals, remember cues are signals, are important for interpreting social situations, okay? So this is actually very important because many people, when they don't interact with life as much as you can, and as much as you should, you don't get those cues. And you're in the street, you're, kind of weakened by the situation that you lack of detecting these cues of contextual social. Yet they have been largely ignored, okay? Largely ignored in the world of science. That could also happen. To fill this gap, a group of professionals proposed the social context network model. Okay, what is that? And this group of professionals in INCS proposed the social context network model. This model, okay, this model describes a brain network that integrates contextual information during social processes, okay? This brain network combines the activity of several different areas of your brain in order to start working in your behalf, namely frontal, temporal, and insular brain areas. Frontal, temporal, and insular brain areas that start working in order for you to be able to cut, to be able to cope with, to be able to capture these cues that are out there for you to interpret. Here we see it. I mean, the different, this is the frontal lobes, adjusting what you think, what you feel, though depending on what is going on, that's how you behave. Anticipating actually possible happenings in your surroundings based on your experience. Then we have the insular area, which is this one in green here, bringing together signals from within and outside your body, like sweating, like running, and the temporal lobes here, okay, associating specific objects and persons with the current situation. I mean, you start to make connections, combining individual features, okay, eyes, mouth, nose, ears, into unified objects and objections and actions that you take. And this is very important. We are equipped psychologically and endocrinologically to act upon the cues or the context that we're facing, or the context that is surrounding us in a certain situation. We have here a video clip that can help us understand this a little bit better. Let me just take out this and let's watch it.
The brain is the command center for the entire body. It makes us who we are. It receives information from our senses and controls our thoughts and movement. To better explore this incredibly complex organ, scientists have divided it into parts and regions. The largest part is the cerebrum, which is divided into two sides called hemispheres, just like the Earth. The outer layer is known as the cortex, which is Latin for bark. Like a tree's bark, the surface is only 1/8 inch thick, but it also contains millions of cells with fibers that send messages to other brain areas. More than 2/3 of the surface of the cortex hides in hundreds of little folds that make the wiggly visible lines on the brain. Animals that are less intelligent have a smoother brain surface. The cortex is divided into 4 regions. The frontal lobe is for personality and emotions, higher thinking skills like problem solving and controlling movement. It continues to develop until you're in your mid-20s. The temporal lobe helps process your hearing and other senses, and helps with language and reading. The parietal lobe is involved with your senses, attention, and language. The occipital lobe helps your eyes see, including recognition of shapes and colors. The thalamus in the center of the brain relays sensory and motor information to the cortex and helps with consciousness, sleep, and alertness. 12 pairs of cranial nerves carry information from your senses to and from the brain and body. Lower in the brain we find the cerebellum, which plays a key role in motor control, coordination, and spatial navigation, so we can find our way out of a maze, for example. Underneath is the brainstem, which connects the brain to the spinal cord, a nerve pathway that runs all the way down your back, sending and receiving information from your senses. The brainstem includes the pons, which helps control our breathing, and the medulla oblongata, which regulates our heart and other body reflexes like vomiting, coughing, sneezing, and swallowing. The limbic system, a region under the cortex, processes our emotions and drives. It contains the brain's reward circuit, which releases the chemical dopamine, making us feel pleasure. The anticipation of pleasure motivates us to repeat important human behaviors like eating, having fun with friends, or falling in love. But it also encourages us to repeat risky behaviors like taking drugs. Drugs signal the brain to release unusually strong amounts of dopamine. This flood of dopamine causes the high that drug users seek and makes it difficult to enjoy more normal, simple pleasures. Repeated activation of this reward pathway can lead to addiction. The limbic system includes the amygdala, which processes emotions, and the hippocampus in the temporal lobe, which is like a memory indexer that sends memories to certain parts of the brain for storage and retrieves them when you need them. The brain controls many actions through rapid nerve impulses, but there are some body functions that the brain modulates over many hours or days by secreting hormones via special glands like the hypothalamus, which wakes you up in the morning and gets the adrenaline flowing, like during a test or athletic event. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland, which helps control growth, body temperature, pregnancy, and childbirth. And the tiny pineal gland, which helps to control sleep and circadian rhythms. These are just a few of the parts and functions of the beautiful, amazing, and complex human brain.
Very well. We can see that it's an amazing video. I just love it. And it explains everything that happens within inside the brain and all the sensory parts and all the functions that it has and the tremendous capacity that it has to process many calculations in seconds. So this is actually the concept. So still talking about the brain and behavior. It is true that many other brain areas are involved in processing contextual information. For instance, the context of an object that you can see affects processes in the vision area or your brain. And however, the network proposed by this model, the model that I was telling you about, that identified the cues of the contextual universe that surrounds you. Okay, this model includes the main areas involved in social context processing. Even contextual visual recognition, okay, involves activity of temporal and frontal region, as we have seen so far, included in our model. We can see it here very easily. Again, how these three parts of the brain are there to help us understand how the brain works and we behave in confrontation with the contextual situations that are in front of us. And we can learn and we can read them and we can act accordingly. How does your brain process contextual cues in social? Through the frontal lobe. That's the emotional part that is there for you. The frontal lobe is the part that sometimes leads you to take irrational decisions, unfortunately, without thinking more in depth. To interpret context in social settings, your brain relies on a network of brain regions, as we have said so far, including the frontal, temporal, and insular regions. That's the figure 2 that we have seen here. Show the frontal regions in light blue, here. So here we are in a way, I'm sorry, let me go here again with my pen. Here we have this part, and it is basically pretty much into the emotional side. So to interpret many of the situations that we encounter in life, we do have these frontal lobes to help us. This region helps you update contextual information when you focus on something that is interesting to you. Say the traffic light as you are walking down the street. That information helps you anticipate what may happen next because of the internal cues that you already have based on your previous experiences. If there is a chance, if there is a change in what you are seeing, you are looking at, and you're observing, as you keep walking down the street and this light on the street light, I mean, looking, a Doberman appears. If you, for any reason, looking at the traffic lights, and a very mean dog is Doberman kind, because Doberman, we all have this uh, context that Dobermans are very aggressive dogs. Looking Doberman appears, the frontal region will activate and obey predictions. Okay, the frontal region will activate and immediately tell you, based on the experience, based on the things that you have seen before, okay, to act. So they call this predictions. You predict that probably something is wrong. This may be dangerous, it says to you. This prediction will be influenced by the context, okay? Oh, the dog is on a leash. So the context that we see, the outside context, that was the internal one, telling you that Dobermans are very dangerous. But then the external context, the cues of the external context, when you see the leash of the dog, being tied by somebody, and your previous experience, yeah, but once I was attacked by a dog and it was very bad. So these two situations are working. If a person's frontal region are damaged, or you had an accident or something happened to you, he or she will find it difficult to recognize the influence of context. So that is one reason why context is so important in order to handle life properly. Thus, the Doberman may not be perceived as a threat if you have something that prevents you from reading these cues, even if this person has been attacked by other dogs before. The main role of the frontal region is to predict the meaning of actions by analyzing the contextual events that surrounds the actions. So that's how the situation works. We can see it here in figure 2. Shows the insular region, okay, that right there. Okay, shows the insular region that's called the insula in green. The insula combines signals from within and outside your body. So you are combining the previous experience, the information that you have, and everything with the external contextual information that you're receiving, and puts one and one together. The insula receives signals about what is going on in your guts, because immediately your body, remember, start processing sweat and movement and breathing rapidly in order to get the strength to run in case you need to run. Hearts and lungs are prepared to confront the threat in this particular case. It also supports your ability to experience emotions. Even the butterflies you sometimes feel in your stomach depend on brain activity, actually. This information is combined with contextual cues from outside your body. Okay, so you, I guess, understand how the brain is working to help you out, to lead you into situations that are known or unknown. So when you see the Doberman breaks loose from his owner, you can perceive that your heart begins to beat faster, an internal body signal, in order to pump blood into your body and prepare you to fight or to flee. Okay, to fight or flee, run away. Then your brain combines the external context clues. The Doberman is loose with your body signals, leading you to feel fear. People, with damage to their insular regions are not so good at tracking their inner body signals. That is one problem, and it's a pathology. And combine them with their emotion at the same time. They don't reason, it's just emotion. The insula is critical for giving emotional value to an event. Lastly, figure 2 here shows the temporal region marked with orange here, right there. The temporal region associates the object or person you are focusing on with the context. Memory plays a major role here. That is the reason that, experience life is so important, because then the temporal region has all the information needed to confront any type of situation. But if you are clustered, if you are close to experiences, then you don't have that ability. For instance, when the Doberman breaks loose, you look at his owner and realize that it is the kind of man you met last week at the pet shop, probably. Also, the temporal region links contextual information with information from the frontal and insular regions, and that start computing all this information at one point. This system supports the knowledge that Dobermans can attack people, prompting you to seek protection immediately. So to summarize, combining what you experience with the social context relies on a brain network that includes the frontal, the insular, and the temporal regions. Okay? The frontal areas adjust the update, what you think, adjust and updates, and add up what you already know. So you keep on mounting information. What you think, you feel, and do, depending on the present and past happenings. And then put it all together in order to create a new experience. These areas also predict possible events in the surroundings. The insula combines signals from within the outside, your body, to produce a specific feelings. The temporal region associates objects and persons with the current situation. So all the parts of the social context network model work together to combine contextual information when you are in social settings. So we have, with this, we have closed the gap, we have closed the concept of being capable of perceiving the world that's around you, the environment, and behave yourself properly, reading these contextual cues from within and outside, and having a brain that functions properly on a leadership within yourself. Okay, so this gets you, and please check an email or posting in Brightspace, because we do have our first quiz 1, module 1. Quiz 1, module 1, I call them also Q1 and 1, and you can actually find it in Brightspace for your quiz 1. I don't give you any information right now about when and how. That will be posted, and that will be informed to you via email and also posted in Brightspace. How does your brain process contextual cues in social scenarios is the name of the quiz, your first quiz of this semester. Thank you so much.